Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Commerce Show. Today, I'm really excited because I have a special guest for you. His name is Ronnie Teja. He's the founder of Branzio Watches. Branzio Watches is a wonderful e-commerce focused business. He employs over 30 person across the globe, so everybody is remote. He's been an expert in conversion optimization in the e-commerce industry. He's working with Shopify, and he is a really talented marketer. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. Prior to the foundation of his business, he has been in businesses such as Best Buy and also HSBC as digital marketing manager and digital marketing expert. So I'm really sure that today's show will be more than just interesting. That will leave you with some golden nuggets that you're going to be able to implement on your store. So thank you for being with us for this episode number 14. And the podcast starts right now, just after you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hello, everybody, and welcome on the Commerce Show. Today, I'm really excited to receive Ronnie Teja from Branzio Watches. Hey, what's up, Ronnie?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's the second time we tried to record this, but today is gonna be the good one. I'm really excited to have
Every
you
day
on
is
the
a
show.
good day. Every day is a good day, my man.
Yeah, so let's kickstart with the first question because I've already introduced yourself. So I know you've started your digital marketing career back in 2011 to work in the e-commerce industries for several major players such as HSBC, where you were digital marketing manager. Then you moved to Best Buy to become the digital marketing specialist back in 2013. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experiences and your background up until the foundation of Branzio Watches?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a first generation immigrant to Canada. So, my family and myself moved to Canada in 2008.
Okay.
And after having completed my master's and a bit of my PhD, I was still picking blueberries in Canada for the first 2 or 3 months when I actually arrived, because my family moved from Vancouver, and of course, it takes a while to get a job. And believe it or not, I'd never done manual labor before, so it was my first time waking up at 5 a.m. and going to the fields to pick blueberries, so my parents couldn't make the mortgage. And back then,
That's
I
cool.
remember we were staying in somebody's basement for something like $400 a month. So it was a family of four staying in somebody's basement for $400 a month, and that's how basic, how I started. From there on out, I was doing door to door radio sales for a
Okay.
Punjabi radio station, a language that although I am Sikh and I speak a little bit of Punjabi, but I never actually knew how to speak it properly till I came to Canada. So I brushed up on my
Okay.
language skills, which is pretty fun. So, we couldn't afford a car back then. So I used to go door to door selling Indian radio. So I literally used to go to the Indian parts in Vancouver, in Surrey and a couple other neighborhoods, and
Oh.
basically go knock on people's door and be like, hey, do you want to buy airtime on radio? And it was quite interesting because you get used to hearing the word no a lot, or you get used to the infamous negotiation skills of Indians a lot. So it's kind of fun to have gone through that experience. But then I took a course in digital marketing,
Okay.
and applied for a job at HSBC as the digital marketing manager for the retail banking division. And
Okay.
that's where I ended up working for about a year and a bit. But the thing was, to be honest, to be quite frank, I realized that it wasn't a good fit, because I prefer, when I was, it's something where I would probably go and go where my dreams would go to die. I mean, that's the only way I would explain it. And no offense to HSBC, but it's basically like, when we had to plan a campaign about 3 to 6 months in advance, and that was some yeah. So
Yeah,
for example,
I get it. That's
yeah, so
not
if
that
I have
much
to plan a
flexible.
mortgage campaign which is due in March next year, I would probably start planning in October of this year.
Oh.
So that's a 6 month process, and and the approval process wasn't really my cup of tea. So basically, it went from Vancouver to Toronto, Toronto to New York, New York to Buffalo, Buffalo to uh, Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong to London. So that's the approval process. There's one person approving this campaign in like 7 different places, and they would
Oh,
basically come back with the feedback. Oh, you're missing a full stop here, and you're missing a comma there. And I'm like, man, I'm working in digital marketing. This is a fast-paced field. I don't want to be doing this thing. So,
I do get
let that.
it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I mean, there's no easy way to, say it. It's like, so if you have a
No.
job like that, maybe you should think about quitting, to be honest. You're not doing yourself justice. Uh,
First career advice of Ronnie. I love
yeah,
it.
exactly. And don't take career advice from me. Then I moved on to Best Buy, and Best Buy is basically like a place that taught me a lot about, it's right up my alley. Taught me a lot about retail, and taught me a lot about e-commerce. I was a digital media buyer there, and I loved the pace of work, which is basically like campaigns would drop at my doorstep, at like 5 p.m. They're like, this has to be executed by 9 p.m. This has to go out. Samsung's launching the Galaxy Fold 3 tomorrow. You need to make sure that we have everything ready to go by tonight and out of the door. I'm sure Philippe is laughing because he probably has his clients to do it to him all the time. And
Yeah,
luckily,
yeah,
I'm
part
yeah, yeah, but it's
some of
fine.
those.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you in this job. I mean, it's digital marketing compared to traditional marketing places where you have to plan a TV spot or anything else. You actually have something which is there and it's ready to go. You don't need to worry about anything. You just have it there. You execute it and you launch it. And that's where I had that mentality. Like, things can change overnight. You can't plan
Oh
everything out
yes.
outright. My day was never planned actually. At Best Buy, it used to be basically like, okay, hey, we have XYZ coming down the pipeline. We need to make sure this is out of the door in the next 3 hours. I was like, okay, no problems. Okay.
Yeah. We we
But that gives
always
you,
we always say that a medium performing campaign is better than the campaign, the campaign that is running right now versus a campaign that you have to plan for 3 months and then start it and be sure that you're gonna hit a home run. That's not the way it works. You just need to implement and test and test and test.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
the
I
way we
mean, you
say it.
launch it, you
It's
test
fast
it. I
paced.
mean, that's the mentality I have anywhere and everywhere, right? It's like, and I had the experience of working in Australia, I had the experience of working in India and a bunch of other places. And then, I just said, look, I'm going to take a chance on myself and start my own company. I've been making money for the people for too long, and maybe, I deserve that one aspect, that one chance, to the one thing that I owe myself was to take a chance on myself, right? It's like, it
Yeah.
was, if I don't do it now, when am I going to be able to do it?
So it was back in 2015, right?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I correct? Yeah.
January 1st, 2015. I actually
And
went through with my New Year's resolution.
oh, and you did it, and you did it well. Let's talk about Branzio more in depth. So, can you tell us why you had the idea to launch Branzio and why a watch brand at that time? I think it was strategic, but would love to hear about it.
So yeah. So I can tell you a little bit about, why a watch brand. So from my research, I'd found out like watches are quite profitable. So the cost of, it costs to manufacture a quartz watch with Japanese Miura movement back in, let's say, in 2015 was not as high as what it is today, right? And then the cost of
Yeah.
Facebook ads, influencers, Instagram ads was just coming up. Everything was cheap. So something that used to
Yeah.
cost me about like $14 to $18 CPA, which is costing me $50 to $60 now. So it was the right time to get into the market. And this is before D2C brands were coming up, and like,
Wow.
Philippe's like, what the hell? Like, it's almost triple, your CPA
Oh
basically.
yeah.
But yeah, but that's what it was, man. I mean, that's those were those. I mean, I'd like to say those were the good old days. But the thing is, then the thing of digital is so interesting because it continuously evolves, right? It's an evolving beast. And the reason why I chose watches was because I just heard from someone mention to me, be like, yo, this is a niche that you should think about getting into. And I actually was, I wasn't a watch person, but then I found out that I quickly became a watch person.
Yeah.
So,
Of course. You need to
yeah,
own your own, eat your own dog food, as they say.
yeah, exactly, have to, right? But yeah, but that's how the journey started. I mean, if you want, I can take you through the starting process. The startup process was insane. I mean, uh, the I we manufactured, we designed the watch in Vancouver,
Okay.
and 2 months into this watch processing phase, what I ended up finding out was the fact that there was somebody in Vancouver who was running a Kickstarter with the same damn logo that I had, I mean, yeah, and that's when I found out your idea is never original, and the watches actually were like similar to
What?
ours, if not better than ours. Or they made a video that made it look better than ours, because Vancouver's got two mountains, and basically they use the same damn logo. And I was like, okay, well, 2 months of two,
Uh,
and we had a first watch batch coming out, and I was like, holy hell, what do we do? And I was down to my last like $10,000, and I'm like, man, this venture's already failed before I actually came up with it. So then I
uh,
found out, through some friends, that there's a big watch fair in Hong Kong, which is the Global Sources Fair. So I ended up flying down to Hong
okay.
Kong, which is about it was $1,000 return trip for me, and found some supplies and started from there, which was quite a lot easier than hiring a designer, starting a watch company, etc., etc. In Vancouver versus just flying down there and flying checking out the watch factories in Shenzhen and actually just manufacturing there directly. So that's my funny story about how I started my watch company,
That's
which
amazing.
almost never came to be.
After 2 months, realizing that you have almost the same brand as another business, it's
Yep.
like, oh, I don't know how much amount of headache you had from that.
That's when I was starting. So you don't take rejection or dejection quite well. You're like, holy hell, you're throwing a tantrum, blah blah blah, and it's like it's not it's not as fun as you want it to be because you feel let down. But it's
Yeah.
okay. You know, I'm glad I had that experience. If I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Yeah, it's part of the process, I guess.
Yeah.
And talking about the process, so now you can we say that the 100% of your sales are done online, or you
A
sell
hundred
also
percent,
retail?
a
A
hundred
hundred
percent.
percent.
Branzio is a
Okay, so
D2C brand, and 100% of our sales are driven online.
full
Yes.
retail, or not no retail, only web. So that's
Yeah.
cool. So real direct to consumer brand. I love it. So let's talk about more about your e-commerce, because our audience are expecting to hear and learn about your strategies. And yeah, so let's quick kickstart. So how do you find new clients right now? What are your acquisition channels?
Yeah, sure. So acquisition channels are mostly Facebook, Instagram, or they used to be till the iOS 14 update rolled out this year. So we've been, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a pain in the ass for everybody else. But Google is like, I have no issues with Google. Low, you know, the intent. It's very high intent uh, product for us. So we've always invested money in Google, and we'll continuously do so. Uh, in regards to exploring, so here's something that is something I can tell you guys, right? I mean, if you look at like YouTube is a nascent, like what Facebook was 5 years ago, YouTube is to you today. I mean, if you haven't
Of
invested in
course,
YouTube, I would 100% be putting, if I had all my money in Facebook, I've taken it out of Facebook and I've been running YouTube ads. But the only downside about YouTube is actually getting the right creative and getting the right hit and having a good spokesperson for your company, etc., etc. But if you're able to do that, then I would hit YouTube as hard as possible. And we've been able to scale YouTube, to 25, 30, $40,000 a day, just depending on the sales that we want. With Facebook at about
yeah.
15, 20,000, I think we can scale it to $15,000 a day profitably. But
Okay.
at a certain stage, it starts like it just crashes. So,
And
and
just
of
for our
course,
audience, are you targeting like worldwide, or you have specific areas that you're targeting with your ads? Because 15K a day is a pretty good budget, but I would love to see how
yeah, I mean,
geographically.
this is a global budget, but depending on the country. So we serve about, I'd say about like, you know, 20. This is between, I think, about 8 countries. We
Okay.
have a different global budget that we use for testing, but this is just basically, and most of it, I mean, like, for lack of a better word, 80% of this budget that I mentioned is USA, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
People forget the amount of e-commerce power that the US has, right? I mean, although India might have a bigger population, China might have a bigger population. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I tried to launch in India, and India is a venture that I'm very happy that I've exited, because people just come in and they want a deal, and I'm Indian, I'm so, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to make fun of Indians as well, but it's like, but people would come and they'd be like, okay, how much is the watch? Say it's for like $100, it's for $100, but how much for me? It's still it's still
Same
it's still a,
price.
it's still 100. Yeah, it's still $100, man. I mean, what do you want me to do? Be like, come on, man, I
But
gotta go.
sir,
I got kids going to school. I need a 10% discount. Blah blah blah. I'm like,
yeah,
look, man, I will.
it's
No, and then you purchase the product, and then they want to return it, etc., etc. And it's like, at least like in the, the value of serving a customer. So for example, if your profit margins are like say 20%, so $20, right? The cost of servicing a customer, we end up losing money
Mm,
in some of the Asian countries, or in some of the other countries that we service. And we said, look, it's not a good long term venture that we want to be in there. Whereas the cost of actually servicing customers, say in LATAM or certain parts of Africa, or certain parts in Europe and North America, are actually much better. So we want to stick with the markets where our strength is,
yeah, yeah.
versus actually try and branch out into every damn corner of the world.
Yeah, it's part of the strategy. And do you have specific funnels, or you land all your traffic directly to your ecom homepage, or in
No,
retargeting
homepage is
directly?
definitely not the way to go. But yeah, they're more
Yeah,
product
I'm
driven.
curious.
We've definitely tried out, or which I'll be talking about later, which is the cross selling and the upselling aspect of it. So it just
Yep.
depends on the promotion we have going on. Back to school is a good one going on. Buy one get one that we do, and when sales are low. So for example, for us, Q1 and Q3 are dead period. So in Q1 and Q3,
Okay.
we launch a lot of promotions. So it could be buy one get one, could be something which is get your wooden engraving done on the box for free. Buy a watch, get a wooden box for free with your name on it, or something else like that, which we use to induce sales. And we know they're tried and tested methods because we've done it. I would say there's about 7 or 8 years of experience of testing behind it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really really interesting. And as you said, I know you're kind of a big fan of cross selling and upselling. I've listened
Hmm.
few of your conferences, and we're gonna be talking a lot about how to optimize your conversion rate during the podcast. So I guess lots of people will enjoy it. So I think most of your audience are more than interested to know what does convert in 2021 in terms of strategy. So what has been the best strategy so far this year to increase your average order value?
Yeah, for sure. So I can take you the top three ones, right? Which I have seen working for me. So I'll put them into one category. So when I look at your product page, right? When
Yep.
you're looking at the product page, I wanna talk a little bit about your even Amazon uses this. If you're in the Amazon space, they just do it blindly, which is your frequently bought together,
Yep.
right? Your frequently bought together aspect of it is an extremely important, like, you have to have it above the fold so people see it immediately, number one, because you know 30% the chances of people scrolling down on your page, if the first 30% isn't attractive enough, is
Low.
yeah, it's just basically it's a decreasing line there. So what I
Okay.
would say is, like, having your hero product, having something which is an upsell on there, that real estate is extremely important for you, right? The
Yep.
second thing that I would talk about is how you're using your order bump value, right? So when I'm talking about your frequently bought together aspect, if your hero product, say your watch is $100, your strap should be 50% of less, or less of that order value. So for example, if it's $100, the what you're trying to sell to your customer should be between $30. I would say is a safe bet, right? Customers will buy something worth $30. The same rule, if they miss the frequently bought together, sort of frequently bought together on your product page, you should give them an order bump. An order bump is that add to cart page that you have on Shopify. You should be able to show them similar, or a related product, a complementary product on that order bump page, right? So
Mm,
so same rule, right? 50% or less. So something that's $100, maybe give them an upsell of $20 to $30, and always be testing it out. It's quite important, right? To be able to test it out and test out different products. So it's important to have that aspect into it. The third thing I've seen in terms of average order value increase is your thank you page, which
okay.
is super important. A lot of people don't do upselling on the thank you pages, and what we've usually seen on thank you pages is, again, you know most people tend to sell and upsell something more expensive, but the person is, they've already purchased the product. You don't want to be able to sell something, that is of a higher value. Something that would be interesting to test out is quantities. So if you bought one watch, you can try, like, if you bought a men's watch, would you be interested in buying a women's watch, and we'll give you 20% off, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in selling some sort of a product insurance, insure your product. Amazon has been doing this a lot lately. I've been noticing it, especially on tech products.
Yeah.
That insurance that you pay for is actually not an insurance. It's free money in Amazon's pocket, because chances of you using that is slim to none,
Oh
and
my god.
because they're going to find a way to actually decline your warranty. Trust me on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna be talking about Amazon later a little bit, but yeah,
yeah,
that's good to know. And when it comes to bundling, you talk a little bit about it, but I know you're a big fan of the rule of three.
yeah.
So can you tell us more about what's the rule of three and how does it apply to an e-commerce store?
Sure. So the rule of three is basically how it's how human psychology has been. We think in threes no matter what. So Michelin star menu, you always have three choices. It's if you look at the mains, the starters, the mains, and the desserts, they'll only have three options. I'm a big foodie, so I've always noticed it. Even
I
when you're a
haven't.
kid, yeah, there we go. Good. That's something we have in common.
Oh yeah,
Another important thing is like when you're like going for a race or you're doing sports as kids, it's always 1 2 3, right? It's like it's everything is 1 2 3. So whenever you have your product, right? So I'm forgetting what law it's called from the top of my head, but basically, even when you go to the Price is Right. So the Price is Right is a show.
yep,
You have three doors, again, rule of threes, right?
yep.
So option number one is your store. Option number two is your customer store. And option number three is basically a chance to upsell what you have on your store to your customer. So, the customers come to your website. Why aren't you showing them what is behind door number three? So, door number three is essentially your product page and the real estate that I talked about earlier, which is your frequently bought together page. There's a reason why Amazon is the master of data. I mean, I'm never going to take it away from them. Is the fact that their product bundling always has the rule of threes. So the rule of threes, when you're doing your product bundles or you're doing your upsells, or if you have some option, or even if you're doing your email, in an email we only have three hero products. We don't do more than three hero products per email. That is something that you should be able to look into. Yeah, and that's always, does it always apply? In my opinion, I've tested four, I've tested three, I've tested five. For us, three's that magic number, and it's worked for us. What I'm saying is, please don't take my advice and just be like, oh, Ronnie, you said only threes. Please test out your
Try
product.
four,
Sometimes,
try two, yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
go ahead with
Sometimes
that.
two, sometimes three, sometimes four. I've tested four, I've tested five, I've tested six. But always be testing, and give yourself about 30 days before you actually make a decision based on your average order value.
Yeah, for sure. And when you do choose what to offer in terms of bundle, what's your plan? How do you implement bundles? Is it only do you only rely on apps that does it for you, or you do a part of the work manually? So what's your thinking behind of how what to offer in
Well,
terms of
yeah.
bundle?
So there's a couple of things here. So before I used to do it manually, to be honest, and what I thought was best. But I'll tell you what I think is best is not always best for my business, and I'll be happy to admit it through trial and error. But and usually, like I was talking about earlier, was you need a 30-day period to be testing it out. So we use an app in Shopify. It's quite an easy app called Just Uno. It works quite well in terms of product bundling and sales. And they actually have this feature if you apply for the premium plan, which is basically they they test out different products for you, and they find the right fit that frequently bought together aspect that I was telling you about. So every 20 30 days they basically test out all these products, and they actually come up with a plan saying that these are the top performing products. And once we find out what the top performing products is through the AI, we actually test it out on emails, and we test it out on different stores, and we test it out on the ads and everything else. So that actually is something that we find quite useful for us.
That's interesting, and I'll put the link. I'll make sure I put the link in the description of the podcast for people who would like to test that app. That's
Yeah, sure.
interesting. And just a quick question before continuing all the other e-commerce and conversion questions that I had. Have you felt any changes during the pandemic on your business? Do you think people are buying watches differently, or have you experienced things around since the beginning of the pandemic?
Well, we did see when the pandemic started, we did see quite a lot of decline in sales, and that's basically because we're selling a fashion product, right? I mean, people don't
Yeah.
go out as much. People don't want to, people don't want to be seen. A watch is a fashion statement. I mean, let's
Yeah.
let's call a spade, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's more of like, hey, look at my watch. Like, what is this fancy thing that I'm wearing, essentially? But so the first quarter when the pandemic started, of course, our sales were negatively affected. But from there on, it grew. I mean, people still wanted to go hiking. People still wanted that versatility to be around. So our watch brand is based on versatility. So, to from the from the ocean to the mountains, which is very Vancouver thing in an hour, which is so where I'm sitting downtown right now having this call to the mountain, which is Grouse Mountain, which is about like a 40-minute drive for me. It's perfect. I mean, I can be doing a podcast and be hiking within the next hour and a half. So from that aspect,
That's
I
cool.
think people got more comfortable buying online, first of all. Second of all, trusting online brands. So that's how we were able to grow. So let's say, if uh, out of 12 months, we've seen growth in the 9 months, and in some cases we've actually doubled our sales. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And let's get back to Amazon because off the record, you told me that you've already sold on Amazon, and a few reasons pushed you away from selling on the platform. Of course, it was not because of the bundles and not from all the tools and the data. Would you be able to explain us what has been your experience and why you've decided to quit selling on Amazon
Well,
for our brand?
there's two reasons. Number one, watches come out of the jewelry category on Amazon, and to get anything approved in the watches and jewelry category is a pain in the ass. Number one.
Okay. Yeah.
Number two, any watches or jewelry that are sold on Amazon, you need to have a 2 to 3 year warranty on it. And the warranty aspect, that warranty card I was telling you about, where Amazon takes all the money, is
Yeah.
all an Amazon thing. We don't get a cut of that. Amazon just takes it all. So
Oh,
yeah. So also, I mean, if you think about it, right? If I were to sell my watches, and at the end of the day, Amazon will take about 40% of your margins straight off the bat, right? So whatever,
yeah.
say, if $100 watch, $40 are going to go to Amazon, and then plus on top you have to spend on your PPC, plus you have to spend on top with the whatever your cost of manufacturing is. So margins that was supposed to be, like, say, you know just making up numbers, is 40%, has now been declined to almost 15%. So Amazon is basically like a, it's good. I'm not saying so Amazon should be looked at as, like, as an acquisition channel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
An acquisition channel where you are able to drive customers to the door and be able to convert them in one way or another to your e-commerce store. It's like exploration of a brand, right?
Yeah,
It's like
raising the awareness on your brand and then
correct.
trying to lead your so a business like you can would put, let's say, a few watches
Yep.
on Amazon, but all
Yeah.
the collection would be on the store directly
Correct.
to be purchased
So
from you.
yeah,
So
and at the end of the day, I'm sure a lot of Amazon sellers face this issue where you put some sort of a product on Amazon, tomorrow they're copied by some Chinese guy, and basically they're able to undercut you, and it's basically like a price and product game.
yeah,
And if you're trying to build a brand, it doesn't come down to price and product, right?
yeah,
So
we did
good customers.
experience exactly that with one of our brand called Tel and Stella. So we're selling dog and cat accessories, leash, collar, and
Yeah.
harness. That's it. And we've been for the last year like bestseller in top categories, and we're starting to see copycat, and it's the right name, the copycat that are popping right now, and they're even using or visual aspects
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
how
They're
we
using
present.
your stores.
I'm
They
like,
they
why are you doing that? Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So that's what you have to look at, right? It's like you're playing whack-a-mole, as I like to call it. Basically, it's like I'm going through this process right now with a friend, and he's like, you know, we're taking product pictures, and he's like, do you have the raw file images for those pictures? I'm like, why do you need raw file images? I said, this is the first time I've been asked for that. And he's like, look, we need raw file images because we need to start filing DMCAs. I'm like, dude, it's only been like 2 weeks since you uploaded the pictures. He's like, yep, people are already using it on 1688, and people are already using it on AliExpress. I'm like, are you serious? It's only been 2 weeks.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah, and I'm like,
it's a
wow,
pain.
that's crazy. It's like it's only been 2 weeks. Yeah, so that's why I say it's like whack-a-mole.
I guess you're doing something right if you're getting copied after only 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm very flattered. What can I say?
Yeah, let's get back to your e-commerce conversion optimization conversation. So uh, about the CDAs, the headlines. What are the strategy you have to find the best copy and also the best performing ads? How do
Yeah,
you do it?
yeah. Look, that is. I mean, I would like to give you the keys to my kingdom, but unfortunately, this is a tried. You need to always be testing this out. Some
Oh,
some customers. So there's two things that I usually find that have worked, right? So like shop now, buy now on your cart page, 100% it works, right? Category pages, it could be add to cart or it could be learn more, right? Those two
mm,
things always work. When you want to show you frequently bought together or trending now or something, top selling items, those have always worked. But you always need to be testing these things out. I can't say what niche you're in and how it works out, but I think it's quite important to be able to look at, you know you have to be able to test those headlines. For us, for example, trending now for watches works a lot better than saying shop now, right? Or
yeah.
to show our top sellers, for example. Or the best sellers, people use best sellers. Instead of saying best sellers, you can use another subject headline. But the basis of getting people to induce purchases is always supposed to be buy now. It's not supposed to be add to cart. The add to cart thing is gonna we've tried it. When you say add to cart, it gives your customers a reason to think. And when they start
Yeah.
thinking, especially for a watch purchase for $100, that means that you've already increased the leeway of how long it's going to take for these people to convert for that.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
so that's what.
interesting.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. So
I've
that's.
noticed that on your call to action, instead of add to cart, it was like shop now
Yeah, yep,
or
yep.
buy now, and I was like, oh, that's different.
Yeah, we
Why?
have. Yeah, it just gives your customers the add to cart is like, do I really need it? It's like when you're shopping at a supermarket, right? And if I want to buy like this, if I want to buy this amazing dark chocolate sea salt that I want, right? It's like, but if you say add to cart, it's like, calories. Maybe I need to think about it twice. Versus, hey, may as well just take it and get it checked out. That's why they have the chocolates and all the unhealthy stuff right when you're checking out at the supermarket, not in the middle of that aisle, man. Because when you're at that checkout phase, you're like, all right, man. It's like an order bump. It's like, dark chocolate sea salt. I will have one. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. And I know that some e-commerce use post purchase offer. You already talk a little bit about it, and instantly via the thank you page, but also by email after a few days. What have been your best takeaways for post purchase offer? So when a client has bought something and now you want to offer something else, what's your key strategy around it once you're
Mm,
thinking.
Pricing is important for your customer.
Yep. Okay.
There's two things or three things I've tested out, so I can share them with you. Number
Yep.
one is if the customer. So always use. So I use Klaviyo. I
Yep.
love Klaviyo. Big fan of Klaviyo. Uh, you have to have an order. You have to have an order flow, right? So if a person comes to your store, they end up checking out, but then don't end up buying your post purchase upsell. It's a good idea to always send them an email after. Don't send them an email immediately. Give them about 24 to 48 hours before you send them that post purchase email. So it could be the same offer. If they decline that offer, send them that same offer. Number one. Number two, something that I found out while testing is give them two or three offers. So give them the same product that you have in mind. So for example, for a watch, it could be a strap. So just thinking out loud, right? So the first offer could be buy a men's watch and get a woman's watch half price. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Customer ends up declining that offer. Second offer, when they reject it, could be buy a men's watch and get a strap for $20, right? So you
Okay.
test out two or three different offers to see which one is converting best, and then you just basically take that offer and you put it up, right? You give people about two, three different offers where they can accept or reject it, and then you can upsell them on it, right? And the
Yep.
same thing on your email flow, right? So if a person's end up buying a hers watch, then it's a good chance for you to send an email follow up after 48 hours saying, oh, we see that you bought these to him and hers watch. Would you like these complimentary straps to match your watches? So you have to be able to yeah, I know it sounds weird, but it's like, but you need to be able to open up your vision to be able to think about it in those aspects.
Okay.
So that's something that I've tested out and that's worked for us quite well. Yeah. The
That's
pricing is the most important part. I mean, I can't stress enough on pricing. You need to be able to always test out different pricing models and find out where that flexibility is for your customer. For our customers, we found out, somewhere between the $20 to $50 range is where they're happiest.
okay. Based on around the $150 for the
Yep.
regular
Yep. Yep.
product.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. And for your email, I'm just curious for your sequences. So I guess you have like a welcome flow. You have, I guess, a win back,
Yeah, the
and
welcome flow is extremely, extremely important. I can't
yeah. Okay.
stress out on the welcome flow. Welcome flow when you buy a watch from us is a video recording from me or a spokesperson. It's pretty
Okay.
important because we discuss the values of the company, the value of the company, and what when you purchase from us, what do you get, right? For example, for me, something that's quite important is rescuing dogs or investing in the profits of the company that we have in preserving wildlife. So a few years ago, I was in South Africa and we actually saw poached rhinos, poached elephants, etc., etc. So 10% of all our money that we have it actually goes to profits are actually invested
Hmm.
in preserving wildlife in Southern Africa or against poaching.
That's
Y-
amazing that you have that kind of value at the core of your business. So it's not only ads, profit, and and growth. It's also about social causes
Come on,
that
man! I have a heart. I'm not that bad.
yeah, no, I know, but sometimes I met people that just do it for the Lamborghini,
Actually,
as
I
you can
actually
see.
don't even have a car. Believe it or not, I have a bike. I've
Oh,
never owned a car. Yeah, no, I just have a road bike. That's all I have.
oh, that's cool. So you're doing road bike.
Yeah, I have a road bike and I have a Royal Enfield motorcycle. That's it. That's all. The only two items that I own in terms of my transportation. That's it, and I'm happy with it. That's okay.
That's really cool. And when you were talking about testing in terms of ads, what are the KPI you should stay aware of? And I know you talk about cost of acquisition, but also the lifetime value in a business like yours. After I purchased one watch, I guess it's gonna be long before I buy another one. I guess for me,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I bought like three watches in my entire life, and now I have the Apple one. But outside of that, what's your thinking about the KPI, and how are you are you calculating the lifetime value if you have a product that is supposed to be sold maybe once,
It's a
twice?
perennial. Yeah, it's a perennial. Like it's a lifetime sort of a purchase, right? So that's where your average order value bumps come in. Something that
Okay.
you'd be surprised to learn is, but as soon as you launch a new collection and you send out, so a good idea is always to take your email list and test out the email collections on the email list. So if you were to
Okay.
launch a new collection, we give our customers a preview on it. The chances
Mm.
of your customers, so if 100 is a piece of the pie, chances of about 20 or 30% converting on your new collection is, that you basically be able to launch something. So it could be like something big is coming. So like Apple does this really well with all its previous iPhone users or whatever. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
something new is coming, more privacy and everything else, and it's like, wow, man, I need the new iPhone.
Tree
I need the
camera.
new, yeah, exactly, yeah, four cameras, five cameras, wow, and so you definitely need that. Oh my god, I definitely need this. It's like, dude, you don't need it. It's like a phone. It's like, how often do you change your phones? But apparently, Apple makes you want a new phone every time an iPhone launch comes out. Same with an iWatch.
Feeling so guilty right
Yeah,
now.
I know, but it's okay. But it's the same aspect, right? It's like, why aren't you taking what Apple does and applying it to your marketing? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, preview, amazing new watches, for sale. Look at this strap, etc., etc. So you can create hype and buzz around it. It's not that you can't. So it's if you're able to do it with an iPhone, the chances of you doing it with your e-commerce store are pretty high. What I would suggest when I look at KPIs, when I'm looking at testing creatives, there's about three different things. I don't know why I keep saying three different things. It could be more than that.
But it's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
People
it
will
could
remember
be.
only three things, so
So
it does make
sorry,
sense.
man. I say three things because it'll be easier. It'll be easier for people to remember and take it as a takeaway. Number one, I always look at the conversion rate on your headlines, right? So always, whenever I'm testing conversion rate, always be looking at that. It's like, what is hitting with people, what is driving clicks, what are people looking at when they're being driven to your store. So that I think is quite important for us. Then what I usually look at is what is the average order value bumps that we're getting. So of course that we've discussed it before. It's quite important for a perennial product such as ours to be able to look at how we can actually increase the average order value. So that's something else. Then the third aspect is, of course, everything comes down to dollars and cents. So what is my return on ad spend, right? Everything is about making money. But the thing is, when you are calculating a customer lifetime value, and Amazon is actually really good at this. That's why they have loss leaders, right? So that's why they'll take one category, they'll take one product, they'll sell it at a loss no matter what. But that's just to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, for
once
sure.
once you have your foot in the door, so for example, even for a watches, if we have like $150 watch we're advertising, we'll have a downsell on purpose. We'll give them something for $89. We'll be like, hey, try this watch out. But what I do know is once you come in, right, we get all your data, right, we know everything about what your tastes are like, and that gives me an opportunity to upsell to you at the end of the day.
Yeah,
That aspect is extremely extremely important. It's like why you go and buy glasses and they offer you first pair free. So if I were to look at, say, if I'm an eyewear company, right, I say what is the cost of acquiring customer data today, the email, the SMS, blah 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 blah. And if I were to put all that information together, I say, okay, the cost of acquiring all that, if I were to run a Facebook ads campaign or Google campaign or whatever else, is about $50, right? But my cost of manufacturing a pair of sunglasses is $10. So why, and the shipping is another $5. So why not I just do this $15 sunglasses for you for free, and you just give me all your data? It's probably a smarter move than anything else. Like why would I want to
yeah,
spend $50 on Google? It's this aspect is a lot cheaper.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I guess people are gonna start to test that type of strategy, but that's really interesting.
yeah.
And just to end on those e-commerce questions, why do you think the customer experience is so important? Because every time I heard you talking in conferences, you're always get back to customer experience. And how do you see it for the e-commerce side of it?
Okay, so before you go and implement everything that I've said above, right? Go and buy this book. It's called Delivering Happiness by Tony Zay, who founded Zappos. Okay. And the reason why I say this is everything I've told you about is irrelevant. It's not going to work for you if you don't have your customer service in place, right? Uh, Zappos is notorious
Yep.
where people used to call in to their customer service line and order pizza. And Zappos would send you pizza for free. That's how good Zappos was. And the way I think there's a really good episode on how I built this by Guy Raz, where Tony says we're a customer service company who just happens to sell shoes. So
Oh,
having, yeah, exactly.
that's
So
great.
having, yeah, I love it, man. It's like too bad he passed away recently, but it's pretty important to have that sort of mindset. The mindset is that you are working for the customer. You are, and Amazon ended up buying Zappos. There's a
Yep.
difference in Amazon's customer service pre Zappos and post Zappos. I mean, the customer
Yep.
service, no questions asked refund guarantee. Before, Amazon used to fight with you to give you refunds. There is this aspect, this nascent aspect of using that sort of mentality that changes, that is going to differentiate you from other brands. Today, I mean, in watches, we have dropship stores, we have fly by night stores, we have all these other stores, right? What am I
Yep.
doing today in my industry or in my niche to be able to actually differentiate myself from everybody else, right? If I'm able to provide people top customer service, right? No questions asked, refund guarantee. I mean, we have people who contact us after years saying, "Hey, my watch broke. I want to replace my battery." I said, "No issues. We'll send you a watch for free. No problems." Right? What we want is that person to be happy,
Yeah.
because that one person for us is worth 10 customers.
Yep.
Right? It's not the review that matters. It's that one customer, because that word of mouth is extremely, extremely, extremely important to me. And that's,
That's amazing to hear.
yeah, that's the core, that's core of a value. That's a
Yeah.
core value for us, delivering experiences to customers that make them recommend us. Yeah,
I'll start to send pizzas to my customer.
you can send pizzas anytime you want, man.
For sure.
You can send me some, all
Uh,
good.
Everybody love pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, for the final questions, Ronnie, how do you stay up to date on the e-commerce these days. There's a lot of information sources. So, what's your feed?
Yeah, man, this is a hard one, but I can explain to you a couple of ways. So there is so much news out there that you end up getting distracted, right? I mean, there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% things that are around. I just tend to listen to podcasts more so than anything else. I mean, there's a couple I can recommend. How I Built This by Guy Raz. If you have some lofty ambitions, they have some good e-commerce guys on there. I think there was Philip Krim from Casper. They have this Tony Say episode. They've got a few good e-commerce ones. E-commerce Fuel. They have a really good podcast. Andrew Yudarian. That's a really good one. I recommend. There's another one that my friend Eric Bandholtz hosts called Practical Commerce. Really good one. And of course, we have to listen to Philippe's show. Very, very important. The
Yep.
Commerce podcast, the Commerce show, that I would highly recommend moving forward because you can hear me on there as well as Philippe.
Yeah, and I think I heard a few times practical commerce. I think I'll go hear it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I recommend it. I mean, they're real life conversations. These are some good conversations to be had. I mean, it depends on how you consume your media, right? I mean, I prefer to just listen to them because they're real life experiences like I'm having with you. I mean, there's the last one on practical commerce that I really enjoyed, and I think that even you would, is Eric had a friend of mine, Shaquille, on, and Shaquille actually talks about how he lost $6 million on an e-commerce investment, and he was pretty open and honest about that whole process.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think he'd be a good fit for your show too. I think it's good to have them on, and good to have the conversation, and a person who's actually, people always talk about the win, just like going to a casino, right? When you go to a casino, you only hear about the wins, you never hear about the 80% of the losses. And to have like a heart to heart with that kind of stuff is important. I think it's not always about the wins. Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's
that's
about the
how.
losses also, and how
Yeah,
you
and
take those
that's
losses to opportunity. Yeah,
exactly,
that's
exactly. It's
yeah.
overcoming failure. It's overcoming all this other stuff. Yeah, and that's those are my 2 cents on that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what would be as an ending note, not a career advice, but what would be the best advice you could give to someone that would like to own an e-commerce business like yours? I don't know if we said it, but you have over 30 employees working
Mm-hmm.
remotely. You travel across the globe. You've been working from I think 16 different countries, something like that. So I think you are having a pretty nice life, and I think you have something to say to our audience about what would be your best advice to launch a business like yours.
Don't start a watch company.
Not
No,
building
no.
competitors.
I'm
Yeah,
just I'm just joking. I think if you want to start an e-commerce company or any sort of company, right? The first and foremost thing you need to do is like take a chance on yourself, right? If somebody says don't do this, don't do that. I mean, look, my dad was in the army. He's worked in the same job for 35 years. And when I started my business, he basically said don't do it. So anybody who says don't do it, be like, look, man, it's okay. I love you, or dad, I love you. But the thing is, what you deserve is that one chance. You deserve to take that one chance on yourself.
yeah,
That's extremely important. The second thing is you're gonna get beat down, you're gonna get kicked up, right? It's that same example I gave in this podcast earlier, which was about that. We had this watch, we had the design ready to go, and then we found out there's somebody else doing the Kickstarter with the same damn logo as us. That stuff is going to hit you every day. There's going to be rejections every day. You're going to have all these different things coming up your way. So you have
for
to
sure.
learn to take failure and rejection and dejection and all that stuff in sync. And if that happens, if you're able to come over it, it's like a mountain. It's like going and doing some sort of a big hike. You're hiking up Kilimanjaro or something. You do it. You just you close your eyes and you do it, because at the end of the tunnel there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just going to be fantastic. And I'm glad I went through that process. I've been able to share my story, which I appreciate Philip letting me you know giving me an avenue to tell that story. So yeah, I think it's important that you overcome.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Ronnie, you have an amazing story starting from, as we say, the bottom, and now you're running a pretty nice business.
Thanks, man.
I'm
My,
I'm
my
really
blueberry picking days are always here. That's why I like my blueberry smoothies in the morning. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with the blueberry smoothie.
Ah,
Was a pleasure, Ronnie, to have you on the show. And if people want to reach out, I guess LinkedIn would be the
yeah.
best way to reach you out.
Yes, Ronnie
So
Teja on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime you want. I'm
I'll
happy to
put
help.
the link in the comment of the show for sure. Thank you so much, Ronnie. It was a pleasure being with you today.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye bye, everybody.